Well, here we are at Wonder Camera Gallery in South Fort Wayne, and here we are with Kevin Sanders. And Kevin will introduce us his installation based on augmented reality, three-dimensional animation,
My name's keep going. Yep.
Kevin will explain us basically the work in depth. Okay, Kevin, you can start.
Like Andre said, my name is Kevin Sanders, and this installation is at the Wonder Camera, December 2014. And I just want to talk about my project, Project Hark. First part of my project is this big box here. I call it the big hologram box. Um, Basically, what it is there's a laptop providing the video connected to a projector inside here, and it's shooting up, and it's bouncing off the tracing paper in here to this clear piece of plexiglass, which provides transparency through me. And I have a surround sound system hooked up to it so you can hear me talking. I used a green screen in my garage and edited out the green screen and plopped in a hologram effect, and that's it for the big hologram box.
This technology is a major part of our future. As for holograms, this isn't anything new.
Okay, what about this box, this kind of turntable?
This is called the Hark Holographic Augmented Reality Cube. It combines augmented reality and holograms. What it does is there is an iPad inside, and there's a mirror that lets the iPad see the wall. On the wall there's two posters, and there's an app in the iPad that recognizes the orange markers on the posters. And on those markers I can put my own animations. So as I turn this, the Hark, it will recognize the orange targets on the wall and will put my animations on those targets.
Can we see this? Here? Please turn the box and to see this, how this pop up. It's a very clever way of triggering the visualization of augmented reality, Kevin. So, where did you get the idea of, for example, making these turntables and in order to switch the images?
Initially, I was trying to figure out how I could hold an iPad flat and it would still see the wall. So I was like, all right, well, I'll use a camera to reflect the iPad's camera down so you can see the wall. And then I was thinking, well, as I turn it, I would want to recognize several frame targets on the wall. So I was just thinking, as I'm turning my body, I need something to put it on as a swivel. So I just encapsulated my entire iPad, put the mirror in the front, and used the hologram as a piece of plexiglass, so it would combine the augmented reality on the iPad, and it would show up as a hologram in the plexiglass. So it combines the keyframe targets on the wall. I created a poster for that, just so there weren't just orange targets on a wall. And it goes in the iPad, augmented reality happens, and then it reflects up to create a hologram.
And whenever this target it's spot by this turntable, so it triggers the animations that are in the markers on the wall.
Yes. Yep.
They're very nice, yeah. So I will call this instant semiotic. So a professor from university in the East Coast, actually, a very prestigious university there. So defined in one of the presentations in a conference that I attend to call augmented reality as instant semiotic, which is actually
That's right.
very, very, very well, a very good definition for this new technique. Okay, Kevin, what about do we have here?
So I created an augmented reality board game, and as you can see on the TV and on the board, there's squares on the board, and these squares are virtual buttons. And this is, I call it the journey of a beach ninja, and it's his journey from the city, and he fights characters on the way until he gets to the beach, where he fights himself. And you put your hand over the button, you cover it up all the way, and my animations will appear on the TV in front of you. See
Yes.
my fingers moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's comes from a webcam, and it points down at the board game, and the webcam recognizes where your hand is. And Vuforia and Unity allow the animations and the event handler to trigger my animations.
So people think about that you under the beneath the board there is a chip that you press to trigger the action, but it's not like that. It's yeah.
It's just a piece of paper.
Yes. So tell us more about this interaction. How this works, Kevin?
Well, it's basically like what happens is I have these pictures here that I've printed out, these 6 little squares that the app will recognize. So it's the same thing as the heart with the orange image targets on the wall, except it's recognizing image instead of the white and black dots around the border of that image. And so as it recognizes this image, I can put any kind of animation I want on this image. And I wanted to combine that with virtual buttons, and just in that case, a virtual button is when you cover it or you occlude it, that an animation, or it would trigger a different kind of animation to happen.
And so you use this board as a sort of storytelling timeline because each button tells the story that's happened there in the screen.
Yep. So, story from the ninja going from the city to the beach, and he fights various characters along the way.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, here is actually you are pressing and the sensitivity of the virtual buttons are great, so it's not hard to trigger to find. So it detects immediately the
You just have to make sure you cover up the entire button.
yes.
That way, it can't even tell. Like, if you cover up the entire button, that's the only time the animation will work. So if somebody tries to go up here and touch it, it's not going to do anything because it can still recognize the rest of the button. You have to hide the entire button for the animation to happen.
Right. And so here we have a pool with what else is a tree and a ninja.
There's it's a pond, and
Yeah.
there's lily pads, and the ninja here is going to grab his Chinese star, and those little cottontails.
Mm-hmm.
You have to watch it's very sensitive to light, so your shadow
Sure. It'll
shadow
clue.
is affecting it.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. But now it's very clear. Yeah.
Yeah. That is also why the lights have to be off in here, because of if a light reflects on it, the camera and the app can't detect that it's there, so it just triggers the animation all the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And here's the last part of the
Beach.
the beach.
Yep. Basically fights himself.
Oh, that's nice actually. Yeah.
I figure it's kind of like life.
Okay.
You go through life fighting various things along the way, but in the end, it comes down to the only biggest enemy is yourself.
That's a kind of very philosophical statement, actually, Kevin.
Yeah.
Very well. In fact, if we think about this, yeah, uh, I can say that hypertext, for example, in a browser or in a web page, has the same kind of functionality. But in here, so you can definitely think about the virtual buttons as a sort of hypertext using images. It's a sort of more further development of the hypertext, and which is a very exciting idea when you work with your
Yep.
body, your hand, triggering the action, and it is well, you have the control of the storyline with your body. In this case, with your hand, occluding the button, the virtual button, and then trigger the scene.
Yep. It's basically like buttons that you can't see with your own eyes. You can only see
Okay.
it through a digital interface.
Exactly. Um, that's very amazing. So it's yeah. And Kevin, here you have another display, basically.
Yes. This is my
What is
progress
doing?
video.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 6 minutes long. It just here this shows all the software I use to create everything
Mm-hmm.
in my project. It starts off at the very beginning with sketches, and it goes to the progress and the timeline of my past year of work. And it goes through everything. 3 parts of my project: the big hologram box, the hark, and the board game, from beginning to end. Obviously, I also screen captured. I had about 150 hours of modeling animation that I screen captured in 60 different videos. And I took about 3 seconds out of each video and combined it into 2 minutes, just to speed things along, because no one's going to want to stand here and watch 140 hours of animation. So I just made a beginning to end video for people to see what was all involved.
And the display is very well crafted. As you see here, you have a number of modules that definitely distribute the lighting, distribute the optics of the installation, and of course, you require some degree of darkness probably in the corners, so a dim area.
Yeah.
Tell us about the problem that probably accidental light could cause to your installation.
Well, I decided to make this light box basically, and there's an LCD light on this side, and it's a pretty bright light, and on the other side there's like a template, and it has the words on there. And so I figured out an appropriate distance in my bedroom, how far the light would have to be. The closer the light is to the template, the bigger the words would be. So I basically, for this whole thing, I need very little light, because you wouldn't be able to see the holograms very well. And as for the harp turning, if there's any reflection, like on the light, the iPad wouldn't be able to recognize one of these buttons.
Yeah.
The light would have to be on
Hmm.
the other light, but it also would mess up this, because I can trigger these with my light,
Sure.
because as it can't see,
But
it covers up the buttons.
in fact, it's not less interesting, because what you are using is a different kind of trigger. We're using a light value to definitely. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So if the lights were on, it would just trigger my animation 24/7. It just wouldn't stop. So we had to turn out the lights. But yeah, I mean, if you actually wanted to use a light in this case to trigger the animation, you could. It's just not as sensitive. You'd have to figure out, the right size of light, and you might be in between two, and it would bring up two animations.
Exactly. I see. Yeah. Yeah, it will
Better
create.
using the hand.
It will create. It will. It will break up the storyline definitely.
Yeah.
So there is a very well arranged lighting system here. That's the reason why. So the installation definitely uh, provide the right action. So
Yeah, as I realized that I would need the lights off, this was kind of a last minute idea. I had to light the posters, and obviously I would either have to have two lights on top of the posters shining down, or I could just put one on top of it, and as it rotated, it would light up the poster as it turned.
that's very interesting. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, in fact, the conclusion of this installation is how you overlap elements from the real world. I mean, devices, lamps, materials, boxes, plexiglass, elements that physically become engaged with the digital content. And in fact, this bridge between what is digital and what is real is the main thing, the essence of what you are displaying here in this installation. Without the collaborative efforts of these two elements from real world and digital world, so this probably wouldn't be possible to execute. That is actually a very good level. We can learn a lot of things from this installation actually. It's a very thorough study about lighting, computing, interactivity, and also animation. It's how we can push the boundaries in a very, very, very new territory of interactivity. So
Yeah.
I'm impressed about the board because the board is so well crafted, and then it's the colors actually are having probably value over the animations, and the virtual buttons are so sensitive that you definitely see what is happening here in the animation. See, here is a close, and if I, for example, again trigger this, yeah, I can see the animation popping up here, yeah. So there is no chip underneath here of the board that trigger anything. It's just the virtual button, which is definitely an amazing way of reach and engage real world, the object real world, with definitely the digital content. Kevin, to finish, tell us more about, for example, the technology. This is actually a technology that requires internet or Wi-Fi or.
Nope. Everything I'm using here is native. It's just it's local. So like for my large hologram box, I have a video on a laptop hooked down here. It doesn't need any kind of internet or anything at all. And as for this, there's an iPad in here that we created an app for with Unity 3D and Vuforia, and compiled it with Xcode to use it as a local app on here, so it doesn't need any kind of connectivity. And the same software, Unity 3D Vuforia, compiled into an app, is also what we use to for this actual board game. I mean, we didn't need to use Xcode because right now Unity 3D is running. So basically, it's Unity 3D and Vuforia. Vuforia is a free plugin for Unity 3D, and that makes the augmenting happen. And these are, you see, these are called virtual buttons. It's basically a free plugin from Vuforia, and these are keyframe targets. Two different kinds of augmented reality.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. So it's a very beautiful display, and I am very impressed about